Boys and girls, today we are talking about telling time. When we tell time, we use a clock, and there are two different kinds of clocks. We have a digital clock and we have an analog clock. The digital clock is the first one that's shown here. You may see a digital clock maybe on your microwave, maybe on your stove. You can buy clocks that show the time digitally. Maybe on watches you may have seen a digital clock. The other kind that we have is an analog clock. An analog clock is usually one that you would see hanging up on the wall or maybe on a watch. So the digital clock has the numbers on there, only on there, okay, just the numbers, and then it has a colon in the middle. That colon is between our hours and our minutes. The analog clock is always going to be in a circle, and it's got the numbers with 12 at the very top and 6 at the very bottom, and then they go in order around 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. On the analog clock, we have an hour hand and a minute hand. Let's look at one more example and decide if this is digital or analog. Here we have our circle, our hour hand, and our minute hand. So that's going to be analog. One more that shows digital. You can see it's numbers only, and it has the colon between the hour and the minutes. Here we have our analog clock, and it is missing some numbers, and it's also missing the hands. So let's go ahead and fill in the numbers. We go clockwise in order. We start at 12 and then we go to 1. Let's put the 1 on there, and then we're going to count all the way up. So we're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is there for us, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Let me get those numbers on there and show you what that looks like. Okay, now our clock is labeled with the correct number. So 12 is at the very top, and then we go all the way around. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Notice 6 is at the very bottom. And then we go 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and back around to 12. Now we need to add our hands to our clock. So we have the short hand is the hour, the long hand is the minute. The easiest way to remember that is that hour is a shorter word than minute. So hour is the short hand, minute is the long hand. Let's go ahead and put those on the clock. Now my hour hand is pointing at the 5, so that I know it's going to be 5, and my minute hand is pointing at the 12. When the minute hand is at the 12, we say o'clock. So this would be 5 o'clock. Now we have our hour hand between the 10 and the 11. So we're always going to go back to the number before. So it's going to be 10. Now my minute hand is on the 6, so we say 30. So this time is 10:30. Now let's look at these clocks and decide if they are digital or analog, and let's see what time they show. This first clock is going to be analog. Remember, it's got the circle with the numbers and the minute and hour hands. Okay, now let's see what time this shows. So we have, remember, our short hand is our hour and our long hand is our minute. So let's do our hour first. It's between the 4 and the 5, so we're going to go back to the 4. So we would say this is 4:30. Remember, the minute hand on the 6 shows us 30. This time is 4:30. Our next clock is a digital clock. We say our numbers on there with the colon in the middle. This is 5 o'clock. The 2 zeros tell us that is o'clock. 5 o'clock. Our next clock is an analog clock. We've got our circle with our numbers, our minute, and our hour hand. Let's look at our hour hand first. Remember, that's the shortest one. Here we find our hour hand. It's pointing at the 4. So we're going to say that is 4. Our minute hand's at the 12. We say o'clock. 4 o'clock. Our last card has a digital clock on it. We can see our numbers with the colon in the middle. So we would say 1:30. 1:30. Today we saw analog clocks and digital clocks, and we learned how to tell time on both. We can tell time to the hour and to the half hour.